Folks, everybody's been trying to get to the bottom of the Epstein files, and a big thing that's really pissed a lot of people off is the fact that, these files have been so heavily redacted, you can't see what's going on in a lot of them. Not trying to say that you want to see any of the creepy stuff, but there's names that have been redacted that maybe shouldn't have been named. There's things that are just so blatantly covered up that you can't even get any context for what's going on in these files. But did you know that somebody actually out there has their hands on the fully unredacted Epstein files? There was actually a hacker in 2023 who managed to get their hands on the entirety of the Epstein files, and it's pretty unknown whether or not, some files might have gotten deleted, some files might have gotten downloaded. It is a crazy story that I'm going to tell you about today, but I am telling you, people, eventually the unredacted complete Epstein files will eventually leak. They are in hands of people out there, and I think we will eventually get to see absolutely everything that's going on in these files, just like this crazy hacker did in 2023. And the fact that the FBI can have their servers hacked in a way where people can just get hold of this whole thing from overseas, from a country that is not friendly to America, is pretty alarming. Okay, so I'm going to break down the whole history of this hack to you in this video, and you're going to realize that the Epstein files are not as secure as you might have thought. So this is going around, okay? The FBI basically recently released sort of a highly classified document that alleged that a server hack happened in 2023. It says FBI record contained in the Epstein files reveals the FBI's NYC office was hacked in 2023, the night of the Super Bowl, and this person erased 200 terabytes of data of evidence due to the intrusion. Excuse me? You're telling me Epstein ends up offing himself despite all of the protections on him, and now people are getting in the files and deleting 100 terabytes. Oh, they're just gone. Are you joking? This is clearly a joke. It has to be. It is ridiculous, all right? This says, to ensure that a download file is legitimate, we wanted to share what we had with the RAs. 500 terabytes of data was gone as a result of the intrusion. I was able to recover 400 terabytes of that data. However, I was told to Google how to recover the data. No one else tried to help us. This is the FBI. The FBI. What? Around 3:30 p.m. or so, we located the log files and began combing through. That's when we noticed strange IP activity that took place yesterday from 2 IP addresses. The actively included combing through certain files pertaining to the Epstein investigation. I reached out to one of the case agents to see if they were in the office yesterday, thinking maybe they inadvertently changed a setting on the NAS, or if they noticed anything strange about that. Around 4:30 p.m., we dove into the IPs and checked all of our computers to see which had the IPs in question. One computer, our Discovery computer, matched one of them and is located in a room next to the lab. The other IP we don't recognize, but it's the same address as our IPA on our network, leading us to believe that it was a computer that accessed our network somehow. Just a computer that accessed the FBI's network somehow. We were not able to identify the computer, but it had to have accessed our network either by being plugged into the network or possibly telenetting in virtually. Possibly. Maybe the public will believe this and stop asking for them. No chance, all right? Jesus effing Christ. No logs, no security, no backups. How does this happen within a top government department which handles sensitive data? It says they probably have logs and backups and security for everything. Except this. It's just a big coincidence. All right. Sort of how Donald Trump's January the 6th Secret Service details somehow lost all their cell phone and text records. Okay. I could talk to you till the cows come home about that one. Today I learned I do better data security than the FBI. The FBI definitely clicks on those phishing emails that offer $100 free Amazon gift cards. How convenient! Data of one criminal activity stolen by another criminal activity. Criminal activities from the bottom to the top. I've worked in data protection for the government in past jobs. This isn't possible. There are replicated copies of data on storage that are immutable, the retention most likely being 3-year, 5-year, 7-year, and so forth. The data is still there. I signed paperwork threatening 20 years in federal prison for mishandling data. Haul them in to testify under oath. Insanity. It sounds impossible. How can they not know to identify IPs on their network and which devices have them? I run a little company and you couldn't get a computer that doesn't belong to us on our network. These statements were made by anybody that works in IT. They weren't made by anyone that works in IT or understands how to locate devices on a network. Very sus. Yeah, the giveaway was telenetting in virtually. Hollywood called. They want to license this catchphrase for their next major hacking movie. Insane. You're telling me the FBI network isn't at least locked down by MAC address? How is it externally open to Telenet? All right, link to the original. All right, the full day's timeline starts a few pages earlier. Okay, it's insanity. Should we have a look at this? Should we have a look? Should we have a look? Are they going to delete this one? So this is going to be a long document, isn't it? What page did it say it started? It started around page 55. Let's have a look, see, shall we? 55. So This is sort of a full breakdown of everything that happened. It's crazy. Okay, basically talking about improving our abilities to help children, blah, blah, blah. It says the FBI didn't know what it was trying to do because the FBI did know the FBI was supportive in my efforts. They were setting up an intrusion. It happened on Super Bowl Sunday of 2023. I discovered it the next day. They did an interview about it. They did a timeline of everything that transpired. We had no idea of this potential hack until late this afternoon, given the potential that someone accessed our lab to do this, and that issue may have been with the way that we set up our network. Below is a little insight into the many attempts we've made to get to the FBI to assist in both physical and security and lab with networking. He arrived at the office, noted his computer had started at 7:30 a.m., logged in. A text file popped up that said the network had been compromised, provided an email address to contact. The file was in the startup folder, so when logging in, it opened automatically. I ran antivirus software, which was up to date and active. It identified a potential threat I attempted to remove. While this is not common, it's also not unusual given the data we recovered. I attempted to remove the threat, but my privilege has been removed, and despite my attempts to gain access, I could not. Whoever this is just walking the FBI on a leash like a dog. It's embarrassing, okay? It is embarrassing. The threat was determined to be a booby trap left by a subject who was a hacker that was tripped when the Axiom forensic program ran across it. That's insane. You getting booby trapped. How are you out here getting booby trapped? It's so embarrassing. I was on an instant message chat with the makers of the server Synology who had us conduct some tests, and they concluded that a possible issue was a defective hard drive in the server. This was a problem since the server was raided, and finding the defective hard drive was a time-consuming and difficult task, but we started trying to work it out. They couldn't figure why they couldn't connect to the server. They noticed that our other servers were also not working properly. It's just crazy. It's just nonsense, isn't it? Like all of this, oh, he did that, blah, blah, blah. You guys let somebody just walk out the door with the Epstein files, 100 terabytes just deleted. Absolute joke. So we already read this. It basically said it came from the Epstein files. They dug into the IPs. They checked the computers. They realized they were hacked. We realized we were hacked. Oh, no. And the cameras weren't working and we were hacked. Oh, no. All right. It's insane. They made a request for an electronic keypad lock on the door to be told the locksmith there's no funding for a lock. There was no funding for a lock on the door. Oh, we needed a lock on the door. Someone snuck in and took all of the Epstein files. What a joke, right? What a joke. What's this? I think we should delete this. It doesn't make sense. I reckon it would be interesting. They basically says the intrusion happened there in the middle of piloting Axiom. They thought a lot of different things to allow remote access. We wanted to be on the cutting edge and think outside the box. We have a large set of hash files, a random string of text to verify the integrity of the file. Hashes are like a fingerprint. Basically saying they had all these possibilities and things. It says using these hashes, child bad material can be detected if the file's hash matches it. The file can be identified as that bad thing without having to see it. We wanted to share what we have with the RAs. 500 terabytes of data were gone because of the intrusion. They really deleted. Let's delete that. And the fact that this is still here, I was able to cover 400 terabytes, 100 terabytes, and it could be illegal material. And the FBI just throwing their hands up. No idea. All right. Crazy. Matt Smith was pissed because he found an email I sent prior to the intrusion requesting assistance that no one responded to. We asked for help and our request fell on deaf ears. We were always referred to someone else. I understand I opened the C20's lab RDP reports, but the FBI knew that I was going to do this, and the FBI told me to follow the instructions on Microsoft websites of how to open the ports. They really just let someone run off with 100 terabytes of secret Epstein files, and they deleted them for the FBI. The FBI don't have them, and some other guy has them. Why aren't you out there trying to kick doors and get them back now? It's insane. It is absolute insanity. Is there anything else in here that's interesting? Yeah, so it says here, additionally, the summary highlighted one very unfortunate instance in which, because of the lag time at CART and the amount of time it took CART to image and process devices, an offender who was a citizen of another country managed to flee the United States before the CART review could be completed. It was almost certain this wouldn't have happened if the DEX review could have taken place in the squad's lab. People are fleeing. What? So when this happened, it was actually reported on, and you know, people basically, they let the cat out the bag that this had happened, but I don't think they really communicated just how absolutely damning this hack was. Oh, God. So FBI investigating hack of its own computer network, right? The FBI is investigating a hack of its network, an isolated incident that was now contained. The FBI is aware of the incident and is working to gain additional information, the agency said in an emailed statement to Reuters without providing further details. CNN, which first reported the incident, citing that people had briefed on the matter. FBI officials believe it involved computers at its New York office, which were used to investigate child bad stuff. They didn't say Epstein, or did they? They didn't say Epstein. It's not immediately clear when the incident occurred. One source told CNN the origin of the hack was still being probed. I'll tell you where it's from in a minute. The FBI breach is the latest in a series of high-profile US government hacking incidents over the last decade. In 2020, officials discovered a widespread cyber espionage operation with numerous federal networks by hackers tied to Russian intelligence. In 2015, the Office of Personal Management, OPM, announced that it too had been hacked and that federal employee records were stolen. The OPM breach was later attributed to Chinese hackers. So is it the Russians or the Chinese that have the unredacted Epstein files that the FBI don't even have? Can you guys let us know that? That'd be good to know. So this news has been doing the rounds again now, all right, in 2026. It says foreign hacker reportedly breached FBI servers holding the Epstein files in 2023. Cybercriminal reportedly accessed the server at the FBI's New York field office, according to a source with the DOJ. Insanity. Look at this absolute turd. A foreign hacker compromised files relating to the FBI's investigation of late ex-offender Jeffrey Epstein during a break-in at the Bureau's field office 3 years ago, according to a source familiar with the matter and recently published Justice Department documents. The details of who accessed the server at FBI's New York field office, including the allegation of foreign hacker were involved, are being reported here for the first time. So they've just found this out now. They swept it under the rug for 3 years. In a statement, the FBI said it was a cyber incident, an isolated one. Give me a break. I bet it wasn't. The FBI restricted access to the malicious actor and rectified the network. The investigation remains ongoing, so we do not have further comments. Why didn't you mention that 100 terabytes are gone and they have them and you don't? Don't want to mention that. Although the source said the intrusion appeared to have been carried out by a cyber criminal rather than a foreign government, the incident underscored that the file's potential intelligence value. One academic said, the legally mandated publication of US Justice Department documents has exposed the dead financier's ties to prominent people in politics, finance, academia, business, triggering investigations in numerous countries of the world. Who wouldn't be going after the Epstein files if you're the Russians or somebody interested in compromat, said John Lindsay. If foreign intelligence agencies are not thinking seriously about the Epstein files as a target, I would be shocked. The breach was reported contemporaneously by CNN and Reuters in February. The connection to the Epstein materials was made by the French magazine Marianne. So the French researchers and investigators are finding out about this. English ain't even their first language, and they're getting to it before the Americans. It's embarrassing. Epstein, a longtime associate to Donald Trump, they had to slip that in there, didn't they? Pleaded guilty in 2008 to those charges. February 2023 break-in. The hack occurred after a server at the Child Exploitation Forensic Lab in the FBI's New York field office was inadvertently left vulnerable by Aaron Spivak, a special agent trying to navigate the Bureau's complex procedures for handling digital evidence. Whoopsie. So that was the person who wrote that timeline. He included his timeline in the large cache of Epstein documents. The break-in happened in February 2023. It was discovered the day after when he turned on his computer and discovered a text file warning him his network had been compromised. Now, interestingly enough, I'll tell you more about that warning in a bit because I've heard a really crazy story about that. It said further investigation turned up traces of unusual activity. This activity included combing through certain files pertaining to the Epstein investigation. The timeline doesn't say which files were accessed. They wouldn't tell you that, would they? Whether the hacker downloaded the data or who it was, still don't know. Reuters could not establish if any overlap had affected the data with the Epstein documents published earlier this year or the files that remain under wraps. Is it possible that the Epstein documents they didn't release, they lost, and some fucking guy out there has got them, probably in Russia? Spivak, whose name appears elsewhere in the documents in connection to the investigation, did not return repeated messages asking for comment. Reuters was unable to reach the man identified in the documents as his lawyer, and 7 FBI agents identified in the documents as being involved in the investigation didn't return messages. They're just going to be hush, 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 because it's so embarrassing. It's so embarrassing that this has been allowed to happen. How? How have you let this happen? What is wrong with you? So in a statement to FBI investigators examining whether he was responsible, Spivak said he was being made a scapegoat for the intrusion and that conflicting bureau policies and faulty guidance around IT were to blame. The person familiar with the breach said the intrusion was carried out by a foreign hacker who didn't even realize they had penetrated a law enforcement server. The hacker apparently expressed disgust at the presence of young and abuse images on the device and left a message threatening to turn it over to the FBI. This is what I was about. This is insane. So that text file, I believe, they actually left a text file saying, "You're disgusting. I'm going to turn you over to the FBI. I found a bunch of young and abuse material here." And they've basically had to respond to this hacker. They diffused the situation by convincing the hacker they actually were the FBI, in part by having the hacker join a video chat where they flashed their law enforcement credentials in front of a video web camera. So this guy thought he was fighting the PDFs by downloading the PDF files from the PDFs, threatened the FBI and said, "I'm going to expose you." The FBI said, "No, we are the FBI. Can we have the files back, please? Here's our badges on webcam." What an embarrassing joke. Reuters couldn't determine, and the source said they didn't know who the hacker was, what country they were operating, what they did with the material accessed, or whether any effort was made to identify or punish them for breaking the FBI server. So somebody is just running around with unredacted Epstein files access out there. We don't even know what they have, and they deleted stuff that the department couldn't even keep hold of. Joke. Absolute joke. All right. Now, basically, I think we've already kind of looked deeply into the report. Let me just see if there's any more information. Oh, good. So let's check this out. So I believe enabling remote access to the C20 computer lab was a good initiative. I was trying to see if there's any interesting things that were highlighted here that we didn't cover. We've already covered that. We've already covered this. Yeah, we've already covered this, okay? But basically, over on Reddit, people are flipping their lids about this. How has somebody got the Epstein files and we don't? Some potentially Russian, Chinese, Iranian hacker, they've just got everything, all right? And people that are actually in there that are probably scared of being exposed for being part of the Epstein files, they're shitting their pants right now because somebody out there's got the unredacted files, okay? It's a joke. Now, everything I just told you about that little twist, people are saying this is the worst timeline. How fucking comical and sad is this? Let's join a Zoom call with a hacker and show them we're cops. The ineptitude of our government shows no bounds. It's funny to think the FBI was worried about being turned into the FBI. Like, they could have just let the hacker turn the owner over to the FBI and said, okay, thanks. So crazy. So crazy. It'd be nice if another country took the effort to verify this and stand behind it. We have an undoctored copy of the files. It may change the tune of the indefensible. Right? They're saying it may be a foreign government, but they're saying they left their child bad stuff database open to the public and some random found it and threatened to report them to themselves. It's insane. All right? It's insane. Definitely some blackmail going on. All right? They can't believe it. Said, yeah, that would be Russia or Israel, and that would explain pretty much everything. Worst part is Trump's base would forgive him for being a PDF so that compromat is useless. But the proof of him being blackmailed and compromised all along is the real threat to him now. Says, can we ask them for the files? I don't know who they are, but I can safely say I trust them more than the current FBI. Russia, if you're listening. Says, where are the WikiLeaks and Anonymous when we need them? It seems like the cyber vigilantes of the old days have no balls when the world wants them the most. It says they work for Russia now, which is also who Trump and his admin and the Republican Party work for. So the lead is buried at the very end. Yeah, we already saw that. It's just crazy. Plot twist, it was to ensure the most incriminating evidence was deleted, so only the foreign nation state employing the hacker has the compromat. The idea that they deleted what the FBI had is absolute insanity to me. America is just a mess. America's a complete mess. It says, the story tells us three things. The files are so replete with bad images that even a person who knows nothing about Epstein can see it. This isn't risque photos of people 1 year under 18 or anything. It's brutal and obvious abuse video stuff. Foreigners have access to this compromat. This means every single person in the Epstein files is compromised and can never be allowed to hold public office. I'd actually agree with that. The government is concealing this from the American people, putting them all at direct risk of foreigners manipulating their government. Nailed it. All right. Nailed it. It says, then nobody who's in those files can hold a position in the US government, so they don't get blackmailed into attacking random countries or helping the enemy. Sounds familiar. All right. This is reported in the files. Reading that is insane and a sad commentary on government offices. 7 a.m. Weird text file. 5 p.m. We realized we were hacked. No funding for a lock. Reads like an episode of The Office. No funding for a lock is mind-blowing. Okay? Mind-blowing. I won't believe it until we get the full unredacted files of what's already been released. If they can release that, then they clearly have everything. Saying ChristopherAndersonPhotos.com in the files. Making secret meeting. He sold $20,000 for a pic. I don't even want to click on that. I'm scared to click on that link. So I read somewhere on here that Kazakhstan had a copy of the compromat, tried to leverage it, and Putin had the Russian army retrieve it under the guise of protest control. Apparently it's Putin's and only to be used by him. So this is maybe how they came into possession of it and not being left over from the Soviet Union. I don't know if any of that's true. Just putting it out there. So look, all right. Someone has the Epstein files unredacted. We don't. And it's just a disaster. It's just embarrassing. Let me know what you thought of that, man. I actually can't believe that this is really a thing that's going on. I hope whoever has it does release parts of it eventually, and then we can finally get to the bottom of this. But for now, I'm out. Let me know what you thought, and I'll see you in the next video.